Before I get into today's video, I just want to take a second and say thank you to each and every one of those who have been keeping up on my content and leaving likes and subscribing to my YouTube channel. I appreciate it a lot, and if you're not subscribed already, go down there and hit that subscribe button. It'll help me a lot, and let's get into today's video. What is going on, everybody? It's your boy Jester back for another NFL weekly video. Today, we will be talking about the NFL Week 4 teams tier list. So let's get into it. We got the Thursday night football game, Seahawks versus Cardinals. The Seahawks beat the Cardinals 23-20. This game was pretty much a back and forth defensive battle in the beginning until the Seahawks managed to get ahead by 2 touchdowns before halftime. Then the Cardinals started to make a comeback in the fourth quarter, almost looking like they were going to, come back and put this game into overtime. But the kick return on the very last drive was just a yard too short of the landing zone, which left Seattle with 20-some seconds at the 40 instead of at their 20 or 30-yard line. And this caused the Seahawks to only need 20-some yards and only one timeout to get in a field goal range to win the game, thus giving the Cardinals the L at the end. With these two teams, I don't think either of them played, phenomenal or too lackluster for that matter. So I'm pretty sure I'm going to put both of them in the mid category this week. I mean, yes, Arizona lost, but like I said, they started to make a good comeback at the end, and the Seahawks looked good too. So I think the mid category is good for both teams this week. Next up, we got the Sunday morning game, Vikings versus Steelers. The Steelers beat the Vikings 24-21. The Steelers looked really good this game defensively. They sacked Carson Wentz 6 times and came up with multiple turnovers to keep the Steelers ahead pretty much the entire game. On the other hand, Aaron Rodgers got sacked a few times, but other than that, and a blocked field goal, the offense did its thing this game. The Vikings struggled offensively and defensively with the multiple turnovers, and the offense couldn't get anything going until it was too late in the fourth quarter to make a comeback. I think the Steelers this week are going in the playoff ready category. I think they looked really good considering how their last few weeks have gone. I think this is the best they've played so far. So I think the Steelers they're ready in the playoff category this week. So they're top tier. And then as far as the Vikings go, they didn't play horrible. They just didn't play very good either. So I think mid fits the Vikings this week. Next up, Commanders versus Falcons. The Falcons beat the Commanders 34-27. Another game without Jaden Daniels. However, this game, Mariota didn't look as good as he did last week. Also, Penix managed to take a step in the right direction, not getting blown out again this week. Atlanta actually looked pretty good this week, both offensively and defensively. Penix threw multiple passing touchdowns, with Bijan Robinson being the breakout star this week, and the defense managed to get an interception as well. The game ended with Washington kicking a field goal, bringing it back to a one-score game, but were unable to recover an onside kick, which led to Atlanta taking a knee to win the game. The Falcons this week stepped up big compared to getting blown out by the Panthers last week, so we're going to put the Falcons in the played well category. And as far as the Commanders go, I mean, y'all don't have Jaden Daniels, and, at this point, who knows when he'll come back. I know he's not playing week 5. I think he's not playing week 5. He's still out. So maybe he'll be back week 6. But as far as this week goes, I mean, they held in there. So I think the mid category fits the Commanders this week. Next up, Chargers versus Giants. The Giants beat the Chargers 21-18, ending the Chargers' undefeated streak. The Giants pick up their first victory of the season with Jackson Dart making his first start as the QB, and they upset the undefeated Chargers. Jackson Dart looked good in this game, honestly. A hell of a lot better than Russell Wilson these last couple weeks with the Cowboys. Loss being the only exception, that is. Dart can't get all the credit for this Giants victory, however. The Giants defense had 2 turnovers, which put them between the 5-yard line and the goal line. So the Giants managed to score a touchdown from both of these turnovers, and the Chargers couldn't seem to get anything going on offense other than Hampton running the ball. But even that wasn't enough to help them pull out the victory against the Giants. The Giants, I think Jackson Dart took a huge step for this team, and he showed it with his legs and his arms, and they played really well this week. So I think Giants are going in the played well category. And then as far as the Chargers go, it was kind of disappointing to see them lose, especially to the Giants. But, you know, they ran the ball pretty well, and they were still making pretty good plays. So I think the mid category is going to be where the Chargers go this week. Next up, we got the Titans versus the Texans. The Texans blew out the Titans 26-0. Texans blow out the Titans in their first win of the season, and Cam Ward is trash. That's it. No, but seriously, though, the Titans really wasted their first overall pick on this guy. I mean, he's only got one touchdown in the 4 weeks to show for it pretty far. It's disappointing, if you ask me. So, we already know where the Titans are going. And then, as far as the Texans, you know, CJ Stroud has been having a rough few weeks. So, I don't think they played well, but, you know, they won, and they didn't really play bad either. So I think the Texans are going in mid this week. Next up, we got the Eagles versus the Bucks. The Eagles beat the Bucks 31-25. This was a pretty crazy game in the first quarter. The Eagles were up 14-0 due to a blocked punt and an offensive touchdown before Tampa managed to get a field goal before the second quarter. Eagles offense put up quite a few scores in the third quarter, but struggled to keep things going in the fourth quarter. Although the offense struggled in the fourth, the defense managed to keep the Bucks from making a comeback because the Bucks were making some explosive plays in the second half of the game, and they almost had a chance to make a comeback and take the victory, if not for the Eagles defense making a stand. So, because the Eagles were up 14-0 in the first quarter, I think that's what gave them the big advantage over the Bucks. Plus, they didn't have Mike Evans, which is their star receiver. I mean, they had Godwin down there making a few plays, and they had Ibuka get a touchdown this week too. But it just wasn't enough to beat the undefeated Eagles. So I still think the Bucks played pretty well, especially going against the Super Bowl champs. So we're going to put the Bucks in the played well category. And then as far as the Eagles go, I think they made some mistakes this week, and I don't think they're picture perfect like they've been the first couple weeks. If I were to rank this, like I always say every week, I would say they're a B+ at most. I'm not going to say they're A or up. I'm going to say they're about a B+. Next up, we got the Panthers versus the Patriots. Bryce, I gave you a lot of praise last week. What happened? You're being demoted back to a cashier for Raising Cane's. Sucked on all three phases, including special teams, with the Patriots getting a punt return touchdown in the first quarter, and Drake May did his thing the rest of the game. Bryce got his team 6 points in the beginning of the game, but was unable to do anything else for the rest of the game. Tragic. Just absolutely tragic. Well, Bryce, I gave you a lot of praise last week, and you let me down. So you're going in the trash category this week. And as far as the Patriots are concerned, I think the Patriots played pretty damn well this week, so we're putting them there. Next up, we got the Saints versus the Bills. The Bills beat the Saints 31-19. Bills continue to show their dominance, knocking out the Saints this week, who were 0-3. The game was pretty close all the way up until the fourth quarter. Once Kincaid got the touchdown, it put Buffalo ahead by 2 scores, and the game was pretty much over from there. The Saints continue to be sloppy on both offense and defense with the multiple turnovers and the costly mistakes. So, I don't think it's any surprise that Buffalo's going back in the playoff category again. I mean, they're 4-0, and Josh Allen is doing Josh Allen things. And the Saints, I mean, they kind of held in there they kept the game close up until Kincaid got his touchdown. So I'm not going to put them in the lowest tier. I think disappointed fits the Saints this week. Next up, we got the Browns versus the Lions. The Lions beat the Browns 34-10. The The Browns looked good in the first drive of the game, but that's all they got. They scored a touchdown on the first drive, but only managed to pick up 3 more points in the rest of the game. Meanwhile, the Lions looked good on all phases of the ball, including getting a special teams return touchdown in the fourth quarter. Lions continue to dominate on offense and getting points from turnovers on defense. This is another one. You're not going to be too surprised. The Lions have just been dominating these last few weeks. Ever since that upset in week 1 versus the Packers, they've been on a roll ever since. And then as far as the Browns go, I think they're pretty trash. I mean, Joe Flacco they need to figure out something on quarterback because Joe Flacco has not been it the last few weeks. I mean, they beat the Packers surprisingly, but that's the only thing they got going for them throughout 4 weeks of football so far. Next up, we got the Jaguars versus the 49ers. The Jaguars upset the 49ers 26-21. Brock Purdy makes his return this game, although not returning with the same level of dominance he had a few years ago. The 49ers looked rough this game. Purdy threw 2 costly interceptions, and they let Jaguar special teams player Parker Washington get a big return touchdown on them right before the fourth quarter. 49ers had a chance to make a comeback, but got the ball fumbled out of Brock Purdy's hands, thus turning the ball over for the Jags and ending the game. I think the Jags have been doing, I don't know what it is with the Jags this year, but they are on a roll. I don't know if it's Travis Hunter exactly, or maybe Trevor Lawrence just woke up on the right side of the bed this year, but he's been doing his thing down there. So I think the Jags I think they're ready this year. And then as far as the 49ers, y'all got, I think disappointed fits the 49ers this week. Next up, we got the Colts versus the Rams. The Rams beat the Colts 27-20. Colts have been on fire these last few weeks, but they shot themselves in the leg this game. They had so many penalties that put them behind in this game, it was hard for them to convert all their third and longs because of these penalties. Also, Adonai Mitchell ends up fumbling the football through the end zone, which results in a touchback for the Rams, which doesn't help the Colts either. I know it happened early on in the game, but that's 7 extra points they could have had, and that could have, kept them in the game. Stafford had a terrific game, on the other hand, with passing touchdowns to Nakua, Devontae Adams, and the last one to Atwell to seal the victory for the Rams. The Rams, I think they're going in the played well category this week. I can't say they were perfect, but then on the other hand, the Colts, I think with how they've been playing recently, I think they were pretty disappointing this week, especially for dropping the ball in the end zone because you were trying to celebrate a little too early, and that resulting in the other team getting a touchback. You can't be doing that, bro. You got to hold on to the football. Next up, we got the Bears versus the Raiders. The Bears beat the Raiders 25-24. Pretty slow start to this game. Not a whole lot in the first quarter other than Max Crosby getting his first career interception. Geno threw 3 interceptions this game, and they looked really sloppy pretty much all game, with their biggest plays coming from Gianti and Max Crosby. On the other hand, the Bears didn't look that impressive either, with them only pulling out the win because they managed to block the last field goal attempt by the Raiders, thus giving Chicago the victory. This game, it was not very good for either team, honestly. I think the Bears, because they won, they're going in mid this week. And the Raiders, I think they're going in the disappointed category this week. Not too much to say about this game. The next game, Ravens versus Chiefs. The Chiefs won the game against the Ravens 37-20. Ravens lost 5 key starters in this game, and all 5 of them are big deals to this Ravens team. Lamar Jackson, hamstring injury. Marlon Humphrey, calf injury. Roquan Smith, hamstring injury. Ronnie Stanley, ankle injury. Nate Wiggins, elbow injury. Not to mention, they still don't have Madubuike, who has now been announced that he's out for the rest of the season. That's going to hurt really bad. He was placed on IR before this game started. And not to mention, they still don't have Patrick Ricard, their fullback, and they don't have Kyle Van Noy either. This team is just getting decimated week after week after week. The Chiefs are still the Chiefs, go figure. They couldn't achieve anything too spectacular this game. They managed to beat a broken and battered Ravens team who just got kicked while they were pretty much down. I've heard analysts all week talking about the Ravens who would still be fine if they ended up 1-3. But after this game and all the injuries, I don't think that's the case for the Baltimore Ravens anymore. This defense is still horrible, and they can't protect Lamar, let alone make any big plays on offense. Lamar is just scrambling way too much, and he can't make any big plays down the field because his receivers aren't getting open, and the O-line's not protecting him because he's getting sacked over and over and over again. Honestly, at this point, I think the Ravens are done, especially if this injury with Lamar is serious. I'm hearing some people say that, maybe it's not that serious. Maybe it's not even an injury. Maybe he just was frustrated and had to get off the field. Maybe he made up that he got injured or whatnot, but I'm not going to state my opinion. I'm just going to say it is what it is. As bad as I don't want to do this, they're just trash right now. I can't go, there's no way around it. The Ravens are just trash right now. And then as far as the Chiefs, I think the Chiefs played well. I'm not putting them in the playoff ready category because, like I said, they pretty much beat a broken and battered team that is the Baltimore Ravens. Next up, we got the Packers versus the Cowboys. This game ended in a tie, with both teams getting 40 points. This game, in my opinion, was the game of the week. This was a highly anticipated game heading into this week, with Micah Parsons returning to Dallas to battle his former team. Although Micah didn't make that much of an impact, besides making the game-saving tackle at the end to Dak Prescott, it still kept fans on their seats in this back-and-forth matchup. Dak finally got a rhythm going with the Dallas offense, and for not having his star receiver CeeDee Lamb, George Pickens stepped up huge for the Cowboys. On the other side of the ball, the Packers had a huge night with both Dobbs and Josh Jacobs, both scoring multiple touchdowns and staying right there with Dallas to the very end. This game went into overtime with both teams at 37 and ended with both teams scoring a field goal in their possessions in overtime, ending them both with 40 points. Like I said, I think this game was the game of the year. Or, sorry, not the game of the year, the game of the week. And these two teams deserved, I think both of these teams deserved a win, honestly, but it ended in a tie. So, with that being said, I think both of them deserve to be in the playoff ready category this week. I mean, they both did great that game. Next up, we got our first Monday Night Football game. It was the Jets versus the Dolphins. The Dolphins won the game with 27 points, beating the Jets with 21 points. The Dolphins, after a few slow weeks, finally started looking like they did a few years ago. The offense looked a lot better with Tua making some of his best throws so far in the season, and the defense had multiple takeaways from the Jets, letting Tua and the offense have more opportunities to put points on the board. The Jets, on the other hand, looked very sloppy on offense, and they couldn't stop the run on defense. A-Chain got loose way too many times, leading to multiple first down conversions and long runs for that matter. The only play worth noting on the Jets was the long rushing touchdown Fields had and the late fourth quarter touchdown to Garrett Wilson. They had a nice run going at the very end when the clock expired, but the Dolphins managed to stop that and thus ending the game. I've been shitting on the Dolphins the last few weeks, but this week they really stepped it up. I think they played well this week. And then as far as the Jets go, I think, I never have high hopes for the Jets, so I think the Jets are going to go in mid this week. And then finally, we have the last Monday night game, the Bengals versus the Broncos. The Broncos beat the Bengals 28-3. Bengals fans, once again, you have to watch your, I guess we'll call them a football team, a broken, battered, sorry football team that is the Cincinnati Bengals. The Bengals managed to get a field goal in the first possession of the game, and the Denver defense stopped them from scoring the rest of the game. It was bad. Denver's defense forced 3 and out for Browning and the offense multiple times, keeping them off the field for majority of the game. Bo Nix, on the other hand, had a decent night with a rushing touchdown and multiple passing touchdowns, but he did have 1 interception, so I can't give them a perfect rating because even Troy Aikman and Joe Buck were saying that Bo Nix could have looked a lot better in this game than he actually performed. But nonetheless, Denver still dominated the Bengals on Monday Night Football and practically told them to get out of their stadium. So, with that being said, I think Denver played really good, so they're going in the played well category. And the Bengals, you're just watching your season go and go every single week. It really sucks that you don't have your starting quarterback, but you know what else can you do at this point? I mean, you have one of the best receivers in the game, and your backup quarterback can't even get the ball to your receiver. That's going to wrap it up for this NFL week. Join me next week for week 5, and we'll see you guys later. Peace out.